Okay, good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another tutorial on how to write codes on Python or in Python. Today's tutorial will be based on a particular problem which is simple calculation on alphabet. Now, first of all, you just need to understand the question. What the question is saying is that the question is automatically asking you to create a program that will assign number to each alphabet from A to Z or to Z. And we are not just working with we are working with both capital letters and small letters. So we are supposed to have assigned positive numbers to the capital letter and negative numbers to the small letter. So A will be equals to 1, B will be equals to 2. That is, capital letter A will be equals to 1, capital letter B equals to 2, down to capital letter Z equals to 26. Remember that there are 26 alphabets. So for small letter A, it will be equals to -1. Small letter B will be equals to -2. Down to small letter Z will be equals to -26. So that's the first issue or the first problem. Then the second problem is that after assigning these numbers to these letters, to these alphabets, we are supposed to now compute, as in we're supposed to perform addition the operation on that alphabet. So imagine now that our program is supposed to take two inputs. One is for the alphabet and the other is the number that you are adding to the alphabet. Now you're not adding to the alphabet, you're adding to the number that the alphabet represents. So for instance, you say that you input R, right? Then you put in the second input, maybe you put in 1, then if you press your enter, your program is supposed to add R and 1. So R is 18, so it will add 18 plus 1, which will give you 19. So that's what the problem is all about. It's asking us to give our letters of the alphabet specific numbers, and it's not just any numbers, from 1 to 26. So that's what the problem is all about. So we'll start by, you can see I've already done it, I've solved it. It's not that hard, but it's tricky. It's tricky in a little, it's a little bit tricky. So we're going to be taking inputs, 2 inputs. One input will be for the character, for the letter. The second input will be for the number that we are adding to the number that the letter represents. So after taking the inputs, then we have other variables. We have one more variable. This variable is supposed to convert the letter to its ASCII, that ASCII code, then perform a particular operation that will give it that particular number you want. Let me explain. For instance, now we want to take in A, right? Small letter A. Okay, let me rewrite the code step by step. So X equal to input um so let's okay, let me say y be equals to ord x. Then we'll say print x, print y rather, print y rather. So if you okay, so if you run this program now, if you run this short code, if you put in a capital letter A, it will give you the ASCII numbers and what A is represented in, how A is represented in its ASCII form, right? If you run it again, you put in small letter A to give you the representation in ASCII form, which is 97. Capital letter gives us 65. So small letter gives us 97. So now, since capital letter is 65, that means capital letter B would be 66. Capital letter C will be 67. Capital letter D will be 68. Okay, so let me show you something else. So let's come back to this code. Let's say y equals to ord x, right? So imagine we now say y equals to ord x in bracket x, then minus 64. Then we'll run the code and put in A. It will give us 1. You can see that this 3 line of code, or just this 2 line of code, has been able to make A 1 and not 65. You can see that these 2 lines of code have been able to give give A 1 as its value. So if we run it again, it will work for B, but this is just for capital letter. To work for B as well. If we run it again, to work for C. You can see B is 2, C is 3. Right? So let's say we want to do it for capital letter, for small letter. So let's say we want to do it for small letter. We just have to change this 64 to 96. Run it, put in small letter, give you 1. You can see that you have been able, instead of going to create maybe an array where you start putting numbers, or maybe using loop. I don't know if you can use loop or whatever, or defining the variables one after the other. You can just find the ASCII representation or the ASCII value and minus a particular kind of number, and it will make A down to Z 1 to 26. So if we do this for B, that is small letter, to give us 2. But imagine we do this now, our input is now capital letter A. It will not give us 1, it will give us 31, because the ASCII value for capital letter A is different from the ASCII value of a small letter A. So when we subtract, we are subtracting different numbers. So for capital, if you want to find capital letter, you subtract 64. If you want to find small letters, you subtract 96. Okay. So, but now our program says that, or the problem we want to solve says that small letter A should be minus. Small letter A, the small letter should be, their value should be negative rather. Yeah, their value should be negative, not positive. Only the capital letters are supposed to be positive. So how do we do it? Because if you say, okay, okay, this is for the small letter, right? If you say minus 98, right? Minus 98, and you put in your small letter, it will give you -1. But if you try it for B, it will give you 0. It will give you 0 because 98 minus 98 is equal to 0. So does it mean you have to, if you want to calculate for B, you come and change it to 90? Maybe is it 90? I'll be 100. Let me see if it's 100. Let me see if it's 100. Is it that you come and change it to 100 so that B will be -2? No, you are not supposed to do that, and you are not supposed to start using if statement to assign values for each small letters. You are not supposed to start doing that because you have to do it 26 times, and that is too much. That will be too much. Maybe you say if x equals the small letter a equals to -26, you have to do it from A down to Z, which is 26 times. So that will be impossible. So that is where the next step comes in, right? That's where the next step comes in. So let's write for the capital letter. Since the capital letter doesn't have any issues, all its values can be supposed to be positive. So let's do for the capital letter. So the capital letter -65, right? So this is for capital letter. So this is for capital letter. This up one is for capital letter. Now so I forgot how to write this comment. Anyways, okay, so this first one is for capital letter, right? So let's do for the small letter. Let me show you how it works. So for the small letter, we'll be doing the same thing. Okay, we'll be doing the same thing, but we'll be twisting it a little bit. So let's say cap L, right? Let's say cap L. So now for small letter, that is SL will be equal to ORD X minus we say is 97. Remember, this will give us positive values, and we don't want positive values for the small letter. So one more line of code would convert it, or let me say 2 lines, right? Let me say 1 line first will convert it to negative. So let's say NSL, which is negative small letter, will now be equal to, this is a string. So str in brackets SL. Now, okay, sorry, we are concatenating it. Yes, we are concatenating it. But what we are doing is that, if you want to do this concatenation, you have to convert it to string, right? So you have to convert it to string. So this line here, what is saying is that minus, right? Since we want our value to be minus, right? We cannot just put minus at the back. It will not work like that. So first of all, we concatenate minus to it, as in we add that minus sign to our small letter. We add that minus sign to our small letter. So I use this function here, this str, then in bracket sl, to convert this SL to string, so that it will not face any issue when concatenating it. So now we have succeeded in adding minus to SL, right? So imagine I say print NSL. Imagine I say print NSL. Let me see, this will work. A. Oh, sorry. You can see that A is giving us 90 minus 1, B minus 2, right? C minus 3. You can see that we are gradually moving. We have succeeded in making that that small letter negative, but it's still a string. We cannot perform a arithmetic operation on it because it's a string. It's just a string. You cannot do 1 plus 1 or 2 plus 2 on it. So let's write another code for that. So we'll now say NNSL will be equal to int NSL. So this int is supposed to convert it back to integer. So now we can add anything to it. Yes, so now we can add anything to it. So imagine you say NNSL is equal to NNSL plus 1. Then you come here and you say print NNSL, run it. Put E is minus 4, right? Put A to be 0, because minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. So you can see that we have been able to, instead of writing long code, as in declaring this, declaring that, we can just easily use this format of converting characters to their ASCII form, and then concatenating minus to it, and then converting it back to integer to do this. It's very simple, right? So so this first code here, this first line here is supposed to work on capital letter, right? These 4 lines, or these 3 lines, is supposed to work for small letters. Why these 3 lines is supposed to work for small letters? These 3 lines supposed to work for small letters. So now another thing our program needs is to be able to determine if the letter you input is capital letter or small letter. That is where we use if statement. That's when we use if statement. So we need our program to be able to determine if the letter we input is capital or small, so it will know which of the lines of code to execute. So let's now say if x dot is upper, if x dot is upper, let me see. Okay, let's declare one more variable here. let's say num is equals to int num is equals to int, okay, input. So if x dot is upper, so this function, right, is supposed to check if x is upper, is in it, is if it's capital letter or if it is small letter. So this particular if block, this first one, is for capital letters. So if it's not a capital letter, it will go to the next if block that we are going to write. So if x dot upper, right? So now let's use this line, x, Ctrl V, right? So answer will now be equals to CAPL plus none, right? So now L if, which is else if x dot is lower, right? We now use this one, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So we now say ANS will now be equal to NNSL plus none. So here we will now print none. Let's try this out to check if it works. A, right? 1. Sorry, there's a problem. Just hold on, there's a problem. Oh, sorry, we're supposed to print ANS. That is print answer. Instead, we're printing none. So you can see it works. Just few lines of code. Let's try B. It works. B is 2, right? Plus 1, that is 3. So let's try A. 2 to give you 1, because A is minus 1. Minus 1 plus 2 is 1. Yes. Minus 1 plus 2 is 1. Yes, minus 1 plus 2 is 1. So there is another way to actually write. There's another way to actually write this code, to rewrite this code, which I just found out after solving the same problem in using C language. But I had to write it in C programming. So there is another way in doing it, and that way I had to discover that way because I was not able to do this conversion in C, which is converting to string then back to integer. Converting to string then concatenating a minus. to your value, then converting back to integer. I couldn't do this in C programming, so I had to use another method. It's kind of like a formula. I had to write a formula. I did not have problem with the capital letter. I did not have problem with the capital letter because the capital letter I have positive integers, its values are positive. So I had problem in the small letters because their values are supposed to be negative. So I had to think out of the box and use a particular formula. I just derived the formula that I could use to make small letter A or small letters of the alphabet have negative values. So for for Python, this is how you assign negative values or positive values to the letters to the letters of the alphabet and perform an operation on them. Maybe if you still want to see the way I did it for the C programming, you can just drop a comment. You can just drop a comment below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And if you are if you are facing difficulties understanding, just still drop a comment, and I will look for a way to explain better. That is, if you don't understand. But so far, I think this is easy to understand because you just need to know how to convert our characters to the ASCII form and then convert them. Yeah, just how to convert them to the ASCII form. This is easy. This is very easy because it's Python. If it was C programming, even the values you are getting after converting will still give you problem because every value, every character, whether 1, whether 0, whether 2, whether A, B, C, has its ASCII representation. So this is easy because it's Python. It took me some hours to figure this out, but I think it's not hard to understand. So just go through it, play with it, and try to understand it. If you can, just drop a comment, and I'll look for a way to explain better. Thanks for watching.